Badou, à la koto ouais papa. Tout temps non cuisine, ouais parler de cordon bleu. Ou dit mon c'est extensif, ouais demander si c'est ouvert. Tout temps non cuisine, ouais parler de cordon bleu. Ou dit mon c'est extensif, ouais demander.
Okay, and we are back. Welcome back to Blan Creole, the podcast where we talk about all things Haitian American, relationships, growing up, childhood, what's going on, current events, money, careers, just everything that got to do with the community about not just being Haitian, also being American, but we bridge the gap by being Haitian American and talking about these shared experiences. With that, I'm your host, Jeremy Antoine, and we are back. I know it's been a very long time since you guys have heard from us. We just want to thank you guys all for the well wishes. Everybody who called, who to check up, everybody who had wrote us to check up, and who had said that they miss us on these social media platforms. We thank you guys. We did not know we reached this many people, but it definitely warms our heart knowing that you guys constantly support us and you guys miss us on the camera. And we are back and we are better than ever. So why don't we go ahead and, let's bring back in the group. Bring go ahead.
Bonsoir. Hello, everybody. Nah, it's so good to be back. I miss you guys. I miss this couch. I miss this space. I miss the community. And you already know, c'est Brianna nous là et n'a toujours été là.
Okay, Brittany, go ahead.
Hey guys, I miss y'all so much. I miss talking nonsense on the microphone. But it's been a long time and I feel refreshed and we're back at it. So yeah.
All right, guys.
It looks like me and Brittany switched personalities real quick.
Oh, right? She got real quiet and you got a little loud. But guys, we have a very, very, very special guest in the building. What better way to come back than to bring on someone who is a professional, who has been working within her career for quite a long time, but also is very proud about her culture and where she comes from. I won't say too much because I'm going to let her take the floor to explain. So go ahead, Marsha, talk to them.
Hello, I'm Marsha Moise, licensed clinical social worker, and I'm so happy to be here with you guys, especially as you come back from your hiatus. Proud to be here, proud to have a conversation about all the things.
Yeah.
That's what I like to hear. So now you said you are a clinical social worker. Why don't you kind of explain to the audience what else do you know what I'm saying? What do you do more in depth?
Okay. So as a licensed clinical social worker, I do many things, but one of the things that I love to do most is to help women who are experiencing some sort of trauma or anxiety, help them to work out their relationships. Other than that, I also do inpatient psychiatric work. So I work with people with severe mental illnesses as well.
Okay. Now, when it comes to things like social work and therapy, right? That is a very touchy subject when it comes to the Haitian community. So that is a very touchy subject within the Haitian community.
Right.
So why don't you tell us what kind of led you to, dive deep into that as a career? Mind you, this is something that is almost taboo when it comes to, our community.
Yeah, definitely. So I think not to stereotype, but many of you out there might understand, initially I was supposed to be going into the medical route. So to be a nurse, or an NP, do something like that. And it just wasn't working out for me. I wasn't really feeling it. It wasn't really my calling. And everywhere I went, people were like, you get such good advice. You get such good advice. And I was just like, do I? And they were like, yes. So then spoke to a counselor and they were like, maybe you should go into human services. And I was like, and do what? So they're like, there's so many different things you can do. And then I kind of found social work and I was like, oh my God, these are my people. I need to be here. So I just dove in. I started in child welfare first, still not really understanding what I should do. And then I had a wonderful mentor who was like, you need to be a social worker. And I'm like, I think I'm doing social work. And she's like, no, you're not. You're a caseworker. You need to do social work, get a master's in social work, become a clinician, do all the things, and actually help people outside of just, what I was doing in child welfare. And then I did that. So I went to grad school, graduated with my MSW, and I've been helping people, as much as I can, especially within our culture. It's my passion to help people within our culture since we're so underserved. A lot of times because of stigma that we experience as Haitians in general. And then, I also went to do my medical interpreter class as well, so I can speak to people in Creole and help as well.
Oh, wow.
That's good.
So now, how was the support for you going into a career field like that? Granted, I hate to say it, but our people really don't believe that this is even a real space.
Right. Ou pral poti moun la kayo, e sa wal fe, sa.
Yeah. So that's what so initially, thankfully my family is the one who kind of like helped bring me along the path once I broke their hearts and told them I wasn't going to go into nursing. They're like, so fair. I'm like, well, there's other things. So someone else I know in my family was working in child welfare. So they're like, well, in the meantime, why don't you go to ACS? I said, okay. So that's what I did. So they kind of helped me along, and they weren't like upset. And I feel like my family's pretty progressive in terms of like Haitian people.
Amen.
Thank God.
It's always easier though if you have somebody that did it first, because it's like, okay, son I did it, so I mean,
exactly.
so
there's a proof of concept,
right?
So it's okay,
right?
But yeah, so they were like pretty understanding, and I think like just getting a degree in general was like, okay, masters too, okay, good. So they were very happy about that.
That's nice. That's nice to hear. When it comes to the mental health or almost human services aspect of things, just like what Brianna said, they always look at it as such a negative concept. You say things like, I'm going to go into social work with kids. They just, instead of saying, oh my God, you're going to work in a school, you're going to be like, oh, welfare TPS. No, not TPS, CPS.
CPS.
Like,
CPS is something
God,
completely different.
So no, oh, welfare CPS, or welfare Timunio. I'm like, what do you
And
like?
it's like they don't realize like Haitians are not the only ones that raise like children. Like there's some really bad people out there raising kids. So you doing this job, like whether I am going in to take kids or not, like I'm doing this for a right cause. Like they always feel like you're about to break up a home, or it's because they think their way of raising kids is so right, and everybody's doing the same thing. No, some people are really getting beat. Some people are really not eating, getting locked up in closets, fridge locked up, and everything else.
Exactly. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of horror stories for sure that I've witnessed myself. But like I said, thankfully my family has been very like accommodating, and they were pretty understanding of what I was doing. More so they were just kind of like, it's dangerous. You're going to the project? And I'm just like, I mean, I gotta go where the cases are. You know what I mean? Right. And the cases are everywhere, don't get me wrong, but like sometimes that's where I'm gonna have to go. But that's what they always think of, the worst case scenario. But that's how a lot of Haitians survive, right? By thinking about the worst case, so that way if something better happens, they're like, okay.
Now, have you encountered a Haitian family to where you had to go and kind of represent or help their kid, and how was that encounter like? Were they hostile?
Yes. So I have had to encounter that.
I take my statement back.
Yeah. No, I mean, so the thing is, like, when people think of CPS, they think of like, again, worst case, right? Like, but so many of the cases were like very mild things, like people not sending their kids to school regularly, why the kid's absent so many times, or let's say the kid did come in and they said like, oh, my parents beat me. Well, by the state of New York law, you can actually punish your child physically. You just can't. Yes, you just can't use excessive corporal punishment, and you can't leave any marks, bruises, or use any objects.
What you mean, really?
Yeah. So if you were to like open hand spank your child, technically that's not an issue. But once you start leaving welts, bruises, lacerations, different ball game. So sometimes me getting a case was more so kind of educating a family on what you can and cannot do now that you're here. And this is what the,
like
the rules are.
Kunya vinisi do wakabati.
Yeah, no wigwas, no
sensu.
matinette, no sensuon, no sapat.
Just plamel,
That's it.
poignette, pied, Buddha. That's it.
That's it. Don't be hitting the kids in the face. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Now, it's the reason why I was kind of like, taken back by that, only because has it always been like that? Or has the laws kind of changed over the years? Because, like full transparency, my father actually went to jail for like putting hands on us, like beating us. But to us, it was just regular punishment. But I guess someone in the school, someone called Child Protective Services, and believe it or not, they walked in and I was actually, and that
perfect timing.
Yo, that's
like, you see,
crazy.
He's doing it right there.
But like they asked me, like, I mean, listen, like, my father never abused us, but it was on some, like, they took me in for questioning into the precinct, and that was like at 6 years old, that was a very confusing time,
scary,
especially being that, like, it's almost like they didn't believe what I was saying, because I was like, nah, my dad doesn't, like, abuse me, nothing like that, whatever. And they just tried to, like, believe it or not, as I'm in that little room, they said, well, we just need you to tell us that your dad, like, beats you, like, on. And mind you, they held me for hours.
I think it was that language beat.
And they were like, yo, we need you to say this. And then I'm sitting here like, yo, can I talk to my mom? Like, I'm hungry, this, that, the third. I was like, well, we can get you a snack, but we need you to kind of like,
once you say, there's a difference between hitting and beating. Once you say beating,
It's clear.
yo,
language is important.
Back, yo, female.
I'm 6.
Yeah.
Now, granted, the moment that I just said it, my job been in that room for hours, I'm starving. Once I done said that, it just took 20 minutes later, I'll never forget it. I just see my dad walking across the hall, and then they had him in cuffs.
Oh.
And, it's granted, no, I don't want to, like, come off a little, like, racist, but I did, as I grew up, I felt like a lot of these Caucasian people who are in this CPS type of space and social work, they don't understand things because as they grew up, those things probably weren't normal for them.
Yeah.
And I kind of did feel like, well, if there was somebody who understood or maybe even came from the background,
that would have never happened.
Maybe my mom wouldn't have to cry that night.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't have to feel like all of this is all my fault.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of traumas that I feel like we experienced earlier on, especially within our generation.
Yeah.
But it also kind of, it makes me happy to know that people like you, generations later, are taking upon that mantle to kind of represent for those kids who may not be understood from a community that I never had a chance to be in the womb and be like, let me pick where I'm going to come from.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was born Haitian and I'm proud to be Haitian. But with these things, we never had those type of resources.
I bet you if there was somebody in the room like that was Haitian, that would have been like, "Est-ce que papi batu ou bien papi tapil?" It would have been a whole like, "Oh no, papi tap him," like that tap him. It would have been a whole like different. We already had the language barrier already. Like some of us was already in ESL. We were saying close the light instead of turn off the light.
Yeah.
So like it's already like trying to differentiate like the word beating and hitting or beating and tapping. Like, so that already like you already failed right there. We was already kiss like at the clothes like right then and there.
It really was.
Yeah, you're right. That's why that cultural awareness is really, really important. And with all this like DEI stuff that's been going on, like it matters for different people to be around because there might be things I don't understand where someone else from a different culture might be like, no, that's not what this is. And I'm like, oh, thank you for, enlightening me because I was thinking about it a completely different way. And someone just pulls me back off the ledge, So I'm so sorry that you had that experience.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for the safe space. But And I'm like I said, I'm happy.
Spécial. Vous voyez, Messi à la prison.
Oh my God.
I know that's crazy. Yo,
No, but granted, that's what happened.
That's really.
But you know,
But you were 6.
yeah,
And you
I
were
was a
coerced.
kid. I
You
was
were
a
6,
kid.
you were coerced.
You know, it
Isn't
isn't.
me na prison.
Honestly, that actually like segues into, have you ever had to go through a difficult, like real difficult encounter with some parents that kind of, even if you didn't want it to, it kind of led down that route?
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I want to say my first removal, like removing a child from their home and from their parent, was probably like the hardest thing I ever had to do, because it was, without giving too much details and breaking confidentiality, it was a family that was dealing with domestic violence. And we had already gone to court. The children were with the mother. However, the mother kept going back to the father.
Now let's talk about this because this is sensitive to me. But yes, hold on.
We're gonna touch on everybody
right,
today. Don't worry,
right.
we're about to get to you, Brittany.
Right.
So because she kept going back, now the court is saying, well, you're willingly putting your children at risk by going back to this gentleman, despite us doing orders of protection, despite us putting you in a women's shelter for domestic violence with your children. And then I had to remove the children from her, and they were very young, very, very young children. So I was like, oh God, like peeling off the little fingers. I'm like, come on, come with me, putting them in car seats. And I'm just like,
try not to cry.
yeah. So it was very difficult doing that.
Honestly, for me, my mom taught me how to faire mes bouchons. Si à l'école là, ou pas connaît, yo pas do parler business moun la.
Yep.
So I really had to like go to school literally 4 a.m. getting woken up because my mom was getting hit, and then go to school at 8, 9 a.m. A few hours later, and like really have to like stifle in my cries. Like it was so hard. It was so traumatic. I remember one time like one of my grandmas, she was getting like therapy or something, and there was like a therapist that came to the house doing therapy with her, and I was
What kind of therapy?
like physical
Okay.
therapy.
I was like, oh, in-home talk therapy?
No, physical therapy. And it was a white man. And I was venting, but I wasn't venting to like say my dad hit my mom. I said something along the lines like my mom fell down the stairs and I'm really worried about her. And then I think somebody had overheard me on the steps saying that to the man. Oh my God, I got the beating of my life. Est-ce qu'on doit parler? What? And I'm like, I didn't say anything. I just wanted to.
You just had to get it out.
Right.
somehow.
Like I didn't say that did it, So it was just like, it was very traumatic. That's what I could say. But like, once my mom had, up and left, she was on her stuff. She was really doing really well. And then siblings had to come from Haiti, They had to come from Haiti, and my mom was not about to do that alone. So like, when my parents got back together, it was just like such a anxiety-filled thing. Like, I'm like, when is it gonna happen again? Like, is it gonna happen again? Is he gonna do it? Now my brothers are here. Are they gonna be able to protect my mom? Like, are they gonna be afraid? Like, it was just so much going on, and I was only like in like 5th grade at that time. So like from kindergarten to 5th grade, I was just filled with like a ball of anxiety over my mom and like everything. And like, I could only imagine like what life would have been like if I had said something and like would have been removed from my house. M'patap di la vie ta bon, m'patap di la vie ta belle, but like, damn, what if I spoke?
That's a real thing you just said.
Yeah.
It's you never know what the future's gonna hold.
Exactly.
But just to kind of like actually let's talk about it. Is it better to be removed and to go, go through the foster system than it is to kind of keep your mouth shut?
Oh, Jesus.
And deal with it.
Right. I think
before you say that,
okay.
Believe it or not, for my mom, right? And I ain't putting no on blast. I'm 26 years old. Okay. Guys, I'm not going through it. But she used to threaten foster system onto me, like, you know what? Go ahead. Go tell them everything.
Every Haitian parents do
Yeah,
that.
I think every
and you know
Haitian
what they're
parent
gonna do?
Y'a pon
They're
pas
gonna
jeune
take you.
manger.
They're gonna put you in the foster care system. All this food you get
Yeah.
here.
Maman be
Yeah.
like, y'a
all
bon
the
bol
sneakers.
céréales only for one
That's
day.
it.
And especially for me, the way she was like, and you know what they do in the foster care system? They touch little boys.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my God.
So to me, foster care was Rikers.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but
And that's how they really kept my mouth shut too. Like, oh, Papa, show my mommy uncle. Papa, show my dad. And I was really like mommy's girl. And if I can't see you, I can't protect you. So like, I really have to keep my mouth shut now. Like, anyways, oh, Papa manger. Oh, Papa, show my mommy. Oh, Papa, show my grandma. Oh, Papa à l'école. Yo, oh, Papa, show get nothing. So I had to fermer my bush. Like, fermer dough. I wasn't living bad. I don't think I was having a bad life. Like, honest, I feel like I'm going to eat the trauma. Yeah, for sure. This is mental. I'm going to eat that mental. Yeah, I wasn't getting, abused by my family. I wasn't getting, beat down badly by my family, So I'm okay. I'm going to stay here. I'm okay, mommy.
You think the trauma would have been less?
Yeah, because you just never know, like, where you was, where I would have ended up. At least I had a community around me. Like, I feel like if I had gotten taken away, like, I wouldn't even have the community that I know. Like, I have grandma, I have uncle, I have my pa, and I have my mom, and I have, auntie. Like, if I can't no more, I'm going to say something to somebody, and somebody going to have to do something about it. Like, y'all going to have to figure it out. But
it's crazy because I say this a lot. Trauma at one point can become comfortable. And it is something that a lot of times we won't catch in the midst of it. But if you're removed from a trauma because you've experienced it for so long, you become you normalize
That's
it.
your new normal.
That's your new normal. So now you could remove yourself and now you miss home. And then you start to say things like, well, I mean, okay, so what if I was getting beat or I was doing this or I was getting this or whatever it was? Like, at least I'm at home.
Right.
And it's it's a thing that I feel like requires a lot of deconditioning, but it also requires an open mindset to understand, like, hey, no matter how I look at this was not okay. But a lot of us, we take what we just been, conditioned to believe is okay, and we just come up with reasons, and we do our best to convince ourselves that it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, as humans, we are adaptable beings, right? And we are conditioned, like the word that you've used, to accept things that we are accustomed to, and we are very much afraid of things that we are unfamiliar with. So when you become familiar with, hearing someone being hit or beaten, that's what you know. So now when you leave that, you leave those unfamiliar people who have showed you love, right? Because even in, like, let's say relationships that people experience domestic violence, it's not always beating after beating every single night. There is love sometimes there. So that's what kind of keeps people in those relationships, that there's some good times, there's some mid times, and then there's the times when, people are getting abused, and then it's filled back in with love bombing and happiness and girl, don't you know? And it's like, oh yeah, it's not so bad. It kind of makes you forget about those things. So that's how those cycles continue. But I want to thank you for sharing that experience.
Sure.
But to answer your question about which is better, it's really tough. So the thing is, the way these systems are built, they're not necessarily the best, right? So the foster care system is definitely not the best, right? But then you think about, should we leave a child in a situation where they might be fearful for themselves or their loved ones? No. However, I think in child welfare, they're kind of moving away from just taking children from their families and trying to, one, take out the person, right, who is doing the harm, and then two, adding some preventive sort of service, right? So whether that's counseling or parenting skills or anger management for the person who's causing the violence, those are the things that they will do, so that way we can keep families together, because we know that usually the family is working except for this particular situation. There's some sort of psychosocial stressor, right? So
Mhm.
maybe, and it's not to give any excuse to anyone who is, harming anyone, but maybe that is triggered by their own mental health issues. Maybe that's triggered by financial stressors.
Mhm.
So if we can try to see what those problems are and work on those things, maybe this person doesn't have to continue operating or behaving in that manner.
Right.
That's, well, do you feel like even when they are operating in that manner, there's a level of, even in the slightest intent? I feel like we were just talking about that before, like trying to dive into the mind of the person who is doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Right
Mm-hmm.
now, boom, there was a situation, I want to say it was a month ago, and I think it was in Bayport, one of those towns out east. You guys probably seen it on the news, where it was a foster child who was adopted, a little black girl.
Oh, yeah.
She was adopted by that family, and they were, abusing her really bad. Like
Mhm.
she was getting, like, I think she was getting stabbed a lot and tortured
Yikes.
all the way until like they tortured her to death, and
Oh, I think I
people
did
didn't
see that.
find out until like the school was like, hey, we haven't seen this girl in days.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to the point I think the daughter, like the actual biological daughter of the mom, was complicit, and then the grandma was telling the police like, oh, I didn't hear anything. Oh, the TV was on, some craziness like that. But sometimes, yes, a lot of times, hurt people hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
That is a very true standpoint. Do you ever feel like though some people like that is just actually their intent?
Yes.
Like there's just a hate
Mhm.
behind it,
Yes.
and they take advantage of this type of system.
Mm-hmm.
And when they would take in someone, a lot of times, like let's say if they're either just angry or they have their own issues, and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what, they get that phone call, we have a foster child, would you like to adopt them? And they'll say, you know what, I do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you, or is is there even a world where you try and understand that person, or is there really such thing as a lost cause?
Ugh. That's a tough question. Um, so I would like to say